What's going on YouTube? In this video, I'm going to be doing a quick trade recap on a trade that I took today during New York session on GU. And so just to get straight into the video, right? Let me actually clear this off and I'm going to break down the trade as if I was starting over. So let me just clear this off really quickly. Okay, so now that I got this cleared off, first thing first, I will draw my first range on the 2-hour time frame, because on the 2-hour time frame, I seen that we started to have this bearish candle closure around 7 a.m. And so this bearish candle closure was pretty much what I was looking for to start the CRT range, right? Let me draw the low, get the high. Okay. And so you could have actually done two things in this scenario. Which you actually could have done was you could have had the 4-hour candle as well, because this was a pretty much like a doji candle, which on the 4-hour is just enough. So it doesn't have to be a certain color, just because that this is a higher time frame candle and so it has more strength. But since because on the 2-hour candle was in fact bearish, and the way that CRT is pretty much the opposite. So when you see a bearish candle, you want to think buys from. And so I saw this bearish candle closure, and the sweep actually started to happen around 9 to 10 a.m. But just to draw off this range, what I actually drew was this low and this high. And so let me scoot back even further, right? I had this outer level of liquidity here that I knew that pretty much once price had two major areas of liquidity to collect. It had the high from the 2-hour candle. All right, it had this 2-hour candle's high here. And then when you zoom out a little bit, you can see this maximum high here. So right before I enter, so the way that I actually enter and approach all of my trades is I look for, well, I understand that the market is fractal, right? So right before I go down on a lower time frame, I look to see a fractal market sequence of CRT. So when I go on the lower time frames, in this case, I believe I went to the 3-minute time frame, right? And so what I did here was I actually had marked out this range. Let me try to make it a little bit tighter. Here, here, make it touch. Okay. So this area was the first area that I was looking to actually take my profits at. But because you remember on the higher time frame, I drew across the higher internal, well, in this case, that was external liquidity actually. So I waited for that external liquidity to get tapped into as well. And then I just pretty much took advantage of the trade. But as you can see on the lower time frames, right? This, what I like to look for is a lower time frame sequence of accumulation, manipulation, and since I'm looking for buys, I'm looking for expansion, right? When I first drew out this area, the market was pretty much here, right? And so once I started to wait until I had the full sequence, so this area here was our area of accumulation. So how I label that area out, simply one, right? And then so I understood that with this being the area of accumulation, I also had my key level on the lower time frame. I think this was, what time frame did I use? Okay, it was based off of the 30-minute time frame. Like I said, once again, the market is fractal. So what I used this for was I just used it to get any nearby internal liquidity that can actually act as a key level for this CRT candle range that's based off of the 2-hour, right? But so let me just find key level very quick. And so I use this area strictly as the key level. And what I mean is on the lower time frame, once again, right? You had your key level of liquidity that I was looking at price to get tapped into. So what helped me understood this area was I understood that this would be the manipulation up until this key level of the market, right? So you have price come in, tap our key level of the market, and then we started to see our bullish candles begin to form, right? You had this first area here. So this would have been the first opportunity to actually enter this trade and have the best risk to reward. But in real time, I actually wanted to wait until the full candle closed. So I waited until 10 a.m. on the dot, right? And so once this candle closed here, I took my trade, had my stop loss around here. It was like 14.5. And then I had my TP1 here. TP2 was at our buy side liquidity from the higher time frame. Once you zoom out, let me just zoom out once again. This higher time frame liquidity here. And so what I actually did was I held this trade to capitalize a little bit more. Well, first, just to show you guys how I actually monitored the trade in real time as well. So once this trade was actually going, I went, and once it went to the 50% area, let me just draw this out. So this is the 50% area of the 2-hour CRT range. All right. CRT 50%. And so you could have actually held out your fib if you take a look, because once you see price hit the 27%, and then it maxed out at our negative 61.8%, which I actually briefly went into detail on my how to trade Fibonacci with candle range 3 video. But just for now, let me take this off. And so once price actually went above our 50% area, I actually went break even on this trade. So I was actually risk free for a majority of this trade, right? But just to continue to show you the risk to reward, right? As price came up into our external range high, I held the trade slightly longer to get as much of it out of it as I can. Sorry. So I actually got a 3 risk to reward on this trade. So I exited the trade somewhere around here. And as you can see, my exit was just in time because that's when price began to go back down. And, now it's starting to go back up again. So could have possibly held this trade if you wanted to see how much it will give you on a swing opportunity. But like I said, I just exited the trade here and took a 3 risk to reward. And that was perfectly fine. I ended up profiting about $1,600 in this trade. So $1,600 profit, that's perfectly fine, right? And let me see. So just something about CRT that I want to go over real quick, and why it's completely different than traditional trading is that it comes with a sense of understanding of the market that most trading strategies cannot give you, right? Because a lot of traders, when prices around this level here and it's sort of consolidating and looks like it's not choosing a direction, right? A lot of people will be confused. They will not know what to do, et cetera, right? But when you're actually a CRT trader and you're at this level, you're waiting for a price to come into our area, and then you understand that this liquidity collection will be enough to drive price back upwards, so where it will collect the rest of the external liquidity because it collected the internal liquidity. So internal to external, external to internal. It's like a cycle that the market does. Then you pair that with CRT accumulation, understanding that this area was just accumulation. You had your manipulation here. Then you had your expansion, get ready as the market prepared to take off, just to show you the arrow that I normally draw here. And so the thing about CRT and another key difference is that CRT is a precision-based entry cycle, right? So what I mean is when you are executing CRT correctly and you did it as best as you possibly could have, the outcome of that is you will have less drawdown. So you don't really look for drawdown. Like, for example, this trade here did not go in drawdown, right? I entered here at this second bullish engulfing candle, right? I had that second engulfing bullish candle, pressed entry on the trade, and then it pretty much went straight into profit for the entire duration of the trade, right? And so this is pretty much what you do it for, right? This is where you really trade CRT to have the extra advantage on precision, because not many trading strategies or trading styles, when you actually enter the trade, you can expect little to no drawdown if you did it correctly, right? Like you could have been someone who slightly entered the market a little bit early, for example, and you could have maybe bought here, and then you had all of this drawdown, right? But when you do it perfectly and you actually wait for the right moment, and just like I actually took the extra time to wait until we had a full candle close and that it was 10 a.m. and we had that candle closure as well, that lined me up to actually have no drawdown because I was patient enough to wait for the market to tell me when it was ready, than for me to assume that it was ready just off of blind assumption. So like I said before, as the trade went on, I actually went break even. So this trade was risk free very quickly because I went break even as soon as price tapped into this 50%. As soon as price tapped into this 50%, I went break even on the trade. I held it, Once price hit here, I continued to hold my trade, and I exited at a 1 to 3, about 1,600 profit, and I was good for the day, right? And so, just to give a little bit more context, I didn't really go too much in depth because anything else would be unnecessary for this trade execution. Like, for example, this was the only way that I could have interpreted this trade and been able to actually take advantage of it for what I was looking for the day. So I wasn't trying to swing trade this, even though you could have, because like I said, even if you did, the trade is still technically in profit from where I previously entered at. And right now, my entry point was about 10 a.m. and now it's about 1. So it's about 3 hours ago. So just from this entry and showing that this entry still would not have got tapped into 3 hours later, the price still has room to actually continue higher throughout the day, maybe even until agent session pick up. But once again, you just got to see. But I believe that I exited the trade at the best area that I could have exited the trade at, being a 1 to 3. I was very pretty much in and out and done for the day at the peak highs and lows of the trade. And so that would be pretty much be it for this video. This was just once again a very quick trade recap of the trade that I took today. So if you found this video useful, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you are new, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.